Welcome to the Anytime Fish Show, the fish show you can watch anytime, including right now. I've got some beta care tips that I'm going to give you. At least this is what I do, so you can take it with a grain of salt, do whatever you want to do. I'm going to tell you all about it here just in a little bit. Let's get to the news. Welcome to the news. Let's figure out what's going on. Protests are still going on in the Vatican as they've opened up a McDonald's in the Vatican. So in order to kind of make it all right with everybody, McDonald's has said, today only, every woman gets a free McRib. Archaeologists in Egypt are mystified after they found a mummy in very good condition. If you could call being dead very good. Consumer alert. Millions of home dehumidifiers have been recalled due to the risk of fire. But don't worry if you have any of these, because it's just a dry heat. All right, let's get into these beta care tips. In this video, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you some basic tips on how to keep betas and keep them alive. If you pick up your beta somewhere, one of the most common mistakes is when you get home, just throw it into like a goldfish bowl or just anything, just room temperature water, and everybody thinks that they'll be just fine in room. I mean, they keep them at room temperature in the stores, but if you look, they're not very healthy. This is a tropical fish that unfortunately is getting behind the heater. Maybe he's telling me he's cold. They need to be kept at 75 to 80 degrees, and even if you kept your house at 75 degrees, one of the most common misconceptions is that water is not going to be 75 degrees. It's probably going to be in the 60s. Water and glass are both really bad about radiating heat away from them. So whatever heat they have, they're dispersing it. So what you really want to do is just keep it 75 to 80 degrees and your betas will live considerably longer. Another thing you can help do is to keep that beta with a filtered tank. They can live in puddles. That's one of the misconceptions. You just throw them in a tank. Well, they're fine. Well, they do breathe air, but they're not meant to breathe air for very long. So they do need a little oxygenated water. Unless you're trying to breed them, then you're really going to want to keep them with a filter. If I would have my druthers, I would rather keep them with what I consider to be the best filter ever made, but unfortunately you can't keep it with all fish, and that would be the under gravel filter. It's so simple. You don't have, the filter doesn't clog up, power goes out. A lot of times your power filters will not restart. I've had that issue with some where they lose their prime, and then you got to reprime them, try to get him back out. But you don't have that with the under gravel filter. So if you're just keeping betas in the tank, that would be the one that I would recommend. It's cheap, it's simple. You don't have to keep buying inserts for it. It's just going to constantly, every piece of food that falls, it will be worked on by the filter. The water will constantly always be filtered. Of course, you're going to want to gravel vac, like maybe half the tank, ever so often. That way you don't lose a lot of your bacteria. Another thing, like foods, definitely want to keep a variety of foods. Keep, maybe frozen brine shrimp, frozen bloodworms. You can do freeze-dried bloodworms, freeze-dried brine shrimp, tubifex worms. There's also flake foods. You want to get a good variety. Never lock into just a good flake food. It's good, quick, easy, but they're missing out on certain nutritions and need certain proteins. So you definitely don't want to just feed one food all the time. And your fish will be much healthier, much happier. You don't want to eat the same food all the time. Again, I apologize for the low tech. I don't have this. This tank is going to be set up for a breeding tank. He's fixing to have his second batch, I hope. And another thing that will really affect the health of your beta is the fish that you keep it with. No fast-moving fish. As far as like guppies go, you can keep them in there. They won't be aggressive. They won't nip at the fish, but they may outcompete the fish for food. They're a slow swimming fish, and like guppies and most live bears are real fast, real voracious eaters, and they'll just eat all the food up before your betta has a chance to eat. So maybe if you keep it maybe with some cory cats. Definitely a cory cat I would recommend highly. It's a good bottom feeder. And a plecostomus, maybe. I've had no issues ever with a plecostomus bothering another fish. But I had a friend who had a very big plecostomus in a guppy tank, and it ate the smaller guppies, which is, I've never had any trouble like that, but he did, and I witnessed it. So, so be careful with that if you do that. Also, like some like neon tetras, things like that will be fine. No tiger barbs, no barbs of any kind, because they will nip at the fins and stress it and kill it. So really, basically, if you do all those, you're going to have really good luck with your betta. Also, I'll throw in there, change your water out quite a bit. You want to do that with any fish. Keep it good, clean water. Because one of the things that's kind of a detriment with bettas is, they've been inbred quite a bit. There he goes. And, so maybe they come in with some kidney issues, and some immune system problems. And, I've had trouble with certain bettas. You get them and they wind up with dropsy, which, they'll look like a big pine cone and they bloat up. And although I can use antibiotics and cure that for the short term, I've never had a good long-term outcome with that. And so there's usually kidney damage involved, either through an infection of some sort or just bad kidneys. And that may be kind of like one of the main problems you're going to have. Plus, if you don't have a good filter, you're probably going to run into fin rot. They are very susceptible to fin rot. But there are some good antibiotics out there for the fin rot. Like, basically, I'm going to tell you, just keep the water clean. Just keep it changed. You don't need to buy the bottled betta water. Don't do that. Basically, just get some water out of your tap water and, treat it so that or leave it out. Especially, like, if you have a water system that uses chlorine instead of chloramines, all you'd really have to do is just leave it out 24 hours. Next day, dump it in. But if you have chloramines, you're definitely going to have to use drops to treat the water. And so you don't need anything special for them. And they're really hardy. Otherwise, as far as pH, whatever pH comes out of your tap, they're going to be fine at. And so definitely, I'm just going to steer you away from any of the expensive betta water, the bottled up water. Don't get it. Just use your own water. Wow, he's actually floating around kind of oddly. He was so active on the last video that I did, but the lighting was really terrible. And so I redid this video, and I'm not happy with this lighting either, so I'll apologize for this, but I hope to get a better setup with cameras and lights soon. And but really, that's all you need with this. You just need to see the betta and hear my tips, and I hope that my tips help you. And if they did, please let me know by liking and subscribing. And I hope to keep coming at you with videos. And I'm going to thank each and every one of you for watching, for subscribing, and supporting me in any way, everything. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to see you in the next video. I'm out of here. See you later.